the trading post. You must learn, flip cards, comics, profits you earn. Rookies to legends, we break it all down. Teaching you the hustle that runs this town. Analyze the flips, predict who's hot. Batman autos, refractors, the chase don't stop at the trading post. You must learn. Knowledge builds fortune, now it's your turn.
All right, everybody, it's your Uncle Rob, and welcome to another episode of the Trading Post. Today, I've got my man Ron on the line, and we're going to talk a little comics, something that's dear to me but new. So we're going to get some insight from Ron, and maybe he can help me understand what it is I have with this comic book collection that I just acquired. So, Ron, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's good to be here.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming, and we're glad to have you. And tell us a little bit about you, what you do, how you got started in the hobby. Let us know a little about Ron.
Sure, no, that's no problem. So I am a school counselor by trade. Actually, I work for an online high school. As far as the comic side of it, I remember my first comic book I got was a G.I. Joe. It was number 15, randomly. And it appealed to me. I love G.I. Joe. I love the military aspect. My dad was in the Army, so it was just good. After that, I just kind of started collecting it. I had my own subscription in the mid 80s. But in the early 90s, I kind of got out of comics, got into sports, played football, and collected sports cards. And then kind of got out of that through the 90s and then the early 2000s. Something I don't even remember what brought me back to comics, but I did. I went back in. I went back and I've collected all the G.I. Joes now. I have everything from the beginning through what's currently going on. Basically, I've got about 10,000 comic books in the PC. That's about 6 long boxes of Batman, 6 long boxes of G.I. Joe, and then 25 or so short boxes of just special artists or anything like that. So I just enjoy the hobby. I enjoy collecting for the art, for the story. It just really depends on what it is. So
Okay. Well, let's dive into that a little bit. I know a lot of people are into the art and who drew them and the writers. So
sure.
how does that, how does that become a significant aspect? Like I've got some Thor, but you can tell that the various issues or the various series are drawn or illustrated by someone different.
Sure, yeah. The way it works now, it's funny. I actually just got off a cruise. We have a comic fan cruise group on Facebook, and we actually just got off a cruise with a comic artist, Brian Shear, who worked on G.I. Joe and Transformers in the 2000s. He still does some art, and some of the things I've learned just in with comics. Each artist has their own style. Everybody, even outside of sports knows McFarlane basically, or outside of comics really knows McFarlane because of Spawn, but he also worked on Batman. He done a lot of different things. He actually had an homage cover on a G.I. Joe. That's one of my more valuable books. So, artists sometimes is going to draw you in. If it doesn't have good art on the cover, whether it's Thor, whether it's Captain America, if the art's not good, people aren't going to pick it up. If you have great art, people are at least going to pick it up and try to read it. If it's not good art, and that's why nowadays you see a lot of covers where the art's the draw. I have books, I'll be honest, I have books I buy just because of the art, just because they're pretty books. I've got a book right here. I was actually sitting there reading before we came on. It's called Unnatural. It's by one of my favorite artists and writers. Her name's Mirka Andolfo. She's a Italian artist. And she writes great stuff. She's great. It's not a classic art. That is anamorphic art. There's a civilization of animals that walk around and act like people. But it's relatable to things going on in our world today. So when you're reading stories, I think that's what we try to see. Whether it be an escape from life or something just to take our mind off our problems. So I think that's what comics have come to today. The Thors you're talking about, if you're looking at something from the 60s and you're going to look at some Jack Kirby art, you're going to look at Stan Lee, that is a very different art and a more original storytelling. The one thing I find with comics, movies, TV shows, whatever it is, there's nothing new under the sun. Everybody's doing the same thing. It's why when something like Watchmen came out in the 80s and they made the movie in the 2000s, it was such a big thing because it wasn't your classic tale. Have you seen the movie? Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Yep.
I
Watchmen.
mean, I remember going to the movie, and it's an R-rated movie because one of the characters walks around naked for the majority of the movie. And I mean, Professor Manhattan, and there were people who had brought small children because it's a superhero movie. This was not a superhero movie. If I mean, it's rated R for a reason. So I mean, I think people don't really understand what the difference between comic books now and what they were in the 60s and 70s. The 80s and 90s, it changed specifically in the 90s, but it's changed a lot as to what you're reading and what you're finding art wise. So it's interesting to me. That's why I mean I collect a bunch of different artists. I mean, there's artists who do more pinup type art. Then there's some who do more watercolor, realistic type art. I mean, it just really depends on what you're into. So,
So I can see that things have trended to a more adult or mature audience.
yeah, the comics, I mean, they do reflect society's ever changing. I mean, if you look at it in the 50s and in the 60s, like you're saying, I mean, you're changing from Archie and Jughead to the 60s, you get into the X-Men. And I mean, most people look at the X-Men and don't really understand what they were doing. The reflections on society are in the comic books all the way through. I mean, looking at the Hulk, how he started and things like that. I think the Marvel universe, the movies they made, did a good job of bringing a lot of this back, whether it be Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, especially those type of things. I think those have been huge for the industry, whether it be comic books, whether it be the movies. I mean, all those things have been a huge boom for the economy. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would agree. I would agree. Now you mentioned like some non-traditional art. Um, I don't know what this is, right? But
okay.
something like this.
Oh yeah,
This
that's Billy Tucci, I would
okay.
guess.
So yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of random stuff in here that I'm not even aware of, but
Right.
I think it's really cool. You know what I'm
It is.
saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's very cool. And he's a very cool guy. I live in South Carolina. He actually lives in North Carolina. I've met him a couple of times at conventions. I mean, he's a very cool dude. But yeah, I would bet that's Billy Tucci's art and it's a she title,
Mm,
SHI.
okay, yeah,
But yeah, it's very cool. I was just actually putting away some of his art today, some of the books I had. So
yeah. So I mean, what is this even about? I've never opened it because it's all sealed,
oh
again,
yeah, yeah.
brand new
No, yeah. I
things.
mean, and that's the whole thing. Everybody has a different. So she is a obviously a female assassin, and
Okay.
that's her story. I mean, it just you're following her adventures. She teams up with other characters from different things. You may have heard of Vampirella.
Mm,
So Vampirella is another character she teams up with. Who I mean, all these things started like Vampirella started in the late 60s in some of the horror magazines. I think Frank Franzetta was the first one to actually draw her, very famous artist from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. She has an ongoing series still today. Um, so yeah, each artist has a type, I would say. There's different things. It depends on what you're into. If you're wanting more funny, there's still characters that are funny. I mean, Deadpool, everybody knows who
yeah.
Deadpool is. The original character of Deadpool was not the Ryan Reynolds we see in the movies. The original character of Deadpool was very hard. I'll put it that way. But after the first two or three, I would say appearances or renditions of him, he starts his first real series. He's actually has that inner monologue. So in the movies, he's breaking the fourth wall. In the comics, he actually has an inner monologue where he's talking to himself and you think he's crazy. So I mean that's how they change those things up. So I mean, there are still those comic elements to comics. I mean, Archie still runs today. I'll pick up a Christmas or Halloween Archie. Don't think I have any on the wall right now. Yeah, I mean, so I mean, it really just depends on what you're into. Obviously, there's still military books. There's still, the Avengers. There's fighting books, things like that. So, the art always goes along with it. I tend, I've talked to my wife about it. I mean, I tend to actually appeal to usually more pin-up traditional art. But I mean, just like what I was showing you, Mirko Gandolfo, that's not traditional. There's another artist, Peach Lamoko. She's a Japanese artist, and she uses watercolor, and it's not very. Um, it's not just hard lines. I mean, it's just more. It's a vague picture, and I mean, it's beautiful art. I mean, that's the difference. I think a lot of the books today we talk about, and I'm sure they do with sports stuff, is FOMO, the fear of missing out. People, we know what books are coming out a month ahead of time at least. So people look at these covers like we don't really care what the key is. We're not looking to see what the book's about. It's is the art. What's the art in it? So
Okay, well, that's interesting because that's very much what a lot of like TCG collectors are
mhm.
into, like Pokemon people.
Oh
The
yeah, yeah.
art matters a lot more than the substance of the card
Oh
or
yeah.
even the game of the story, you know.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, I mean that's why I was trying to look around and see what I've got sitting here. Like, I mean, you say that, but like, I mean, I think it takes a little more imagination, but I mean, I think there's still a lot you take away from the comic book. You can actually look at the picture. The art, like we talked about, between the 80s and 90s changed. It used to be more, if you open that Thor book up, you're just going to see square, 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 square. In the 90s, they made what they called splash pages. So what it was, one big picture on a page instead of, so it's not just random art. It may be something more like that, where there's just a couple of pictures and then one big picture. So, I mean, they tried to change it up. That's both good and bad. It takes away from the wording. In talking to Brian Shear, what happens is an artist gets the script from the writer, and then they put up pictures and things like that, and they try to match up what's going on with what the picture is. So the artist and the writer have to be on the same page. You'll see that a lot of artists use the same writer for interiors. So when we were talking about cover work, usually each book, there are some books that have come out that'll have 50 different variants for a book, which means they have different artists doing a cover. That doesn't change what's on the inside. They're just doing the cover work themselves. That Thor you have, if it's from the 60s or 70s, it had one cover. If it had two, it was a newsstand and it was a direct. The directs wouldn't have came to probably the mid 70s, late 70s. But yeah, that was it. Now you have copies of books, and it'll have an average book has at least two to three covers. You've got an A cover and a B cover for almost every book that comes out every week. So I mean, it really so each author um, it's each author is going to have a specialty as what they like to write, and that specific artist is going to do the interiors. So if you look at the book or you look it up and see, all right, who is the writer, who is the artist, who is the inker, then you might see the signs going to say who's the cover artist. Very rarely is the cover artist the same as the artist who did the interiors. That
okay,
used to
that's
not be
interesting.
the case. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't have known that.
Mhm.
Now, I do know because I noticed in this collection that I have both versions of some of those books. I have
Mhm.
a direct version and I have a newsstand. And I think that the difference is one has a like a Spider-Man
Barcode. Right.
and something else has something different, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The newsstand's gonna have the barcode where they scanned it, and then the directs would have, yeah, usually it has like a Spider-Man, either a black Spider-Man face or a
Yeah.
just regular Spider-Man.
Or something like that. Now,
Right.
do they differ in value? And just like the same thing, like it's equivalent now with the different artists. Is there a difference in value, or is it just for tracking or marketing now? I would think because the one artist may be more appealing to another, or appeal to a certain genre or type of person in another. How's that
Okay.
work?
So yeah. So if you're collecting, So let's start with in the 60s and 70s. So the direct didn't start to the 70s. So let's assume you have two books from the mid 70s, and one's a direct and one's a newsstand. The one that was direct was mailed directly to someone's house. That person probably read it, put it down, put it away. The ones that are on the newsstand, they had to go through people's hands at the newsstand, sitting on the newsstand. So the value comes in the fact is if that newsstand is in a better condition, it's worth more. So that's the newsstands typically are worth more just because they're not as readily available in that good a shape. Um, in the 90s, they moved away from
Gotcha.
newsstands. So it got harder to get a newsstand. So newsstands, once again, if you get a newsstand, I have a couple of books I just picked up recently that I bought just because they were newsstands. Nothing particularly special about it, but it was a newsstand copy from 2012. I mean, when's the last time you went into a bookstore, Barnes and Noble, somewhere like that, and you saw comic books? They just don't do it anymore. They're all direct sale to specific stores. So generally in the 80s, books from the 80s, 75 to 8, let's say 95, there's no difference. Value is going to be about the same. There's a couple of exceptions to that, but for the most part, value is going to be about the same. Before that time and after that time, if you find a newsstand, typically it's going to have a little bit more value. So people do look for those. Um, the difference in what I was saying was like the first Spawn. If the early Image comics, when Image started in 92, I think it was 91, 92, they actually didn't have very many distributorships, so getting a newsstand was hard to do. So you had to actually, so if you find one of those, if you have a Spawn one that's a newsstand and it's in a high grade, you're looking at a $400 book easy. If it's a number one direct, you're looking at maybe $100. So I mean that's a difference.
Okay. Now, what about these current books and the difference in the cover artists?
Okay. So each artist, I'm trying to think of a book to tell you right now. So one series that I collect or that I like is Batman. So Batman is going to have typically it actually has four titles that come out every month when it comes out. So you've got A, B, C, and D. So A is just your regular cover. B is the variant. So those two are the easiest to get. Then the C may be like a 1 in 25. So a bookstore would have to order 25 books to get one copy of that book. Then the D cover is going to be probably 1 in 50. So once again, you got to order 50. So they make them harder to get. And then those actually are the ones that have the better artist, I guess. You might have an Adam Hughes cover, a Sozamaika, different things, J. Scott Campbell. So, I mean, different ones, and they do have more value. They're, sometimes you get a book that's a surprise hit. You're not expecting it, things like that. But as a general rule, people know what's coming and they know what they look for. But if it hits just right, if people, especially during COVID, where people were stuck in the house, prices on comic books shot through the roof for about 2 years. They had expendable inventory or spendable money, and they had nothing to do with it, and people started buying again. Prices on books went crazy for no reason other than they could afford to buy more expensive books, which is good. I mean, you had that extra money. It was good for the market, but that market has now come way back down more to normal where they should be. So,
Well, you mentioned Deadpool and you
mhm,
mentioned Batman.
mhm.
And what do you think about this new deal? And maybe I want to get in right now because I think issue one just came out recently.
It did.
Of Batman Deadpool.
Mhm. The crossovers are good. The crossovers started in the 80s, I believe. And I like the Deadpool Batman. I actually bought another copy, another cover. That's another one that had at least 10 different covers.
Whoa. Okay.
Oh yeah. I know I picked up at least four of them just because the story's the same. I know it sounds funny, but I mean, I like the art. There's one, I'd have thought about it. I mean, I've got it right there, but the stories don't change, but the art does. So, I mean, there's some that are more kitty art. There's some that are more action art. There's some, I mean, it just really depends on what you like. All of the cost of the first six or so are all about the same. They're basically a comic book's going to cost you $6 today. You're looking at 5.99 for one comic book. So um, I think when those came out, I ordered four, and I think I picked up one extra one since then. So I think I have five copies. So, but yeah, they those crossovers they do it to the extra copies, the crossovers like that. It's a money grab. You're picking two of the hottest characters. Deadpool is just hot in general. Batman is a standard. So
Yes, classic. Yeah.
a classic. There's two classics. There's Batman and there's Spider-Man. Everybody thinks it's Superman, but it ain't Superman. When there's been a couple of titles with DC. One of them was DC Presents, and it was Superman teamed up with a bunch of different people. So they'd do DC, would be DC Presents. That was the first He-Man. I actually have that one. It's Superman and He-Man fighting randomly. But I mean, they would team him up with stuff. Well, and there's a few good books in there. There's the He-Man, there's the first Teen Titans, there's a couple of things like that that show up. But DC also did the Brave and the Bold, and was a long running series, and it was Batman teaming up with people. So Marvel did the same thing with Spider-Man. They did Marvel Tales, and they would team up Spider-Man with someone just randomly. It would seem like they would you're trying to improve. So if it was uh, Spider-Man and the Falcon. You're trying to give the Falcon some people to read. Oh well, we can read his story now. You're just trying to increase it. So I mean, those are the two standards. I mean, if it's not Batman or Spider-Man, there's a tier down for everybody else.
Well, that's interesting. So let me ask you a little about my Thor. And
Mhm.
it starts with Journey into Mystery, which
Ah,
is 101,
yeah, that's a good one. That is
right?
a definite. Let's see, 101. It's from 1964. It was
Mhm.
released in December of '63, but it's a 1964 book. It's the first crossover with Thor in the Avengers. The cover artist, one I mentioned earlier, Jack Kirby. He was also the penciler, which means the penciler is the one who actually draws. And
Okay.
then the inker was George Bell and Matt Fox. The editor was Stan Lee. And so, I mean, they all kind of put out one thing in talking to Brian Shearer over that cruise. He talked about how fast they did these comic books. I mean, you may have one artist writing or drawing three or four different comic books. So if you look at the cover of yours right now and you look at Thor's boots, there's not a lot of detail. It looks like there's some, and it's the way he brought it up to me. It's like same thing with Captain America. You don't see detail. You see it, you know what it is, and you recognize it. There's a guy running across the page, and you just see a brown foot kind of hanging down below his pants. Well, nowadays you see the eyelets of the shoe, you see, the tread. I mean, it's a lot more detail oriented, so they don't put out as many books as fast. So, but that's a very good book. I mean, for 1 second, I can tell you. So Thor started later. So Journey to Mystery was his first appearance. So those are still even in lower condition. I mean, that's probably a $50 book, just
Mhm.
knowing that even with writing on it, the older the book, the less harsh they grade. So you're going to be, I mean, you may not ever get a 9.8, but I mean, you can still get a higher grade because they take into account that no one put books back then in bags and boards. That
Right.
was an uncommon thing. I have a guy that I talk to a lot that talks about that how they didn't start bagging comic books until the '80s. They didn't think about putting boards in them until really in the '90s. So I mean, it's relatively in the last 30 years where that's actually been a thing. So the first Thor actually started in '66. So that '64 that's 2 years before the Thor actually began. So and it
So
actually
now, so now then in 66, I just randomly grabbed one, okay,
sure.
out of closer to the back. And now I'm at 218,
Mhm.
and it's definitely titled The Mighty Thor, but it stayed in
Right.
sequence.
Yes. So when it changed from Journey to Mystery, it just moved straight into Thor. So it
Yes.
kept the same numbering, they just changed the name. And so that book, in a mid grade, is worth about $8.
Hmm.
So I mean, it really just depends on what, and that's from 1973. It's not a key of anything, and it lists that there's two variants. So one is the UK edition, and one is that one. So there's only two variants of that.
Okay. And I mean, this is in pretty decent shape, but what makes now a book like, say, does it depend on the story, who else is in it, what character may be introduced? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm using right now is an app. It's called Key Collector,
okay.
and you can download it, and you put in, whatever issue it is, and it'll tell you if there's. So if I've got it on non-key, just on keys. Let's see. Go back. If I clicked on Thor, and it's just showing me the keys, it starts number 126 is the first one that's the key, and it tells me it's formerly titled Journey into Mystery, and this is a classic battle between Thor and Hercules. So that was the key to it. And that book in a high grade is worth 925 versus a low grade, which is still $90, just because it is the first issue that started that run. So
And that would be what number?
126.
120.
What's the lowest one you got there?
Well, right now I'm looking at 123. Uh,
Okay.
but I don't know. And let me see. And after 123, oh, 126. Yeah, this one with Hercules.
That's it. Yeah, depending on the grade, that is a good find. I mean, that is a good book. I mean, even if it's in mid range, I mean, you're still looking at two or $300 book. So
Huh,
really,
interesting.
as long as it
Okay.
really, and when you're
Yeah, I
looking
mean
at
it does
grading,
skip some.
yeah, yeah, and really when you're looking at grading with a book that old, is the writing is not actually as bad as you would think. As far as people, if they wrote on their books, you find a lot of books that have someone's name. They'd put their name on it, things like that. If this complete is usually the biggest thing. You want to make sure no one cut out any coupons or ads out of it. Um, then
Hmm.
you want to make sure there's just no tears or anything on the book. That's really your biggest things. You can't do much. Ages back then, they're going to discolor. So, I mean, they're going to be more creamy, maybe even yellow. That's called foxing. You'll see that on the back of the book. So it looks like what you would normally think of as maybe looking rusty kind of on it.
Yeah,
So,
I definitely see that on some of these. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, and unfortunately, because there's staples on those, I mean, the staples can get rusty. I mean, water is the biggest problem for any comic book. Water damage makes them wavy. So, I mean, that's really the best thing to do with books like that. I mean, so I buy books for the art, and then I buy books for the books I want to read. We have what we call omnibuses. So, something So this is the art of Jose Gonzalez. It's just a book of his art, but it's Vampirella. So it's actually got it's stories. It's got pictures of different art that the guy did. So I usually read books. So after a certain number of books, they'll put out a trade paper or an omnibus, and that's what I was doing with this Unnatural. I mean, just instead of reading the individual books, I'm trying to keep them in better condition. I'll read this and can save those books.
Gotcha.
That's just so. I mean, for that Thor. I mean, if you want to read it, I mean, some people are hardcore. They want to be able to pick it up, fill the paper, and read it. And I get that. A book that old's great. I think the oldest book I have is from the 50s. It's just a random book, but it was just one because the age I wanted it. I have the last Tarzan from the original Dale series. So I mean, those are things that I do. I like. But if you wanted to keep it just to read it, that's good. If you're looking to put it away for an investment, you can take it to a comic book store. They can actually clean it and press it, kind of give you an idea of what it's worth.
Hmm.
Books like, some people slab books. I slab maybe two or three a year. I don't really, I especially if it's a book I'm not going to go back and read. I've got 12 up here on the wall right now. And I mean, it's just a matter of if it's a book you want to read, then don't slab it. They have hard holders that you can put them in, so that'll keep them just protected. Put them in the bag and board, slide them in the top holder, and that's all you need. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially these old ones. I doubt that I'm in the. I think I would be more like you. I'd read something different and
mhm.
try to save the book,
Yeah, just
and
preserve it. I
save
mean,
the
and that's
integrity
just
of the book.
yeah. I mean, that to me. I mean, to flip through it and look at it to one thing, but I mean, you're not going to go back and just keep reading it. So I mean, That's
Right.
my thing. I'd rather, invest in something that I can, if I'm going to pay for something like that, I want to make sure it's going to be taken care of. So,
Yeah.
but you're talking
Yeah.
the Batman Deadpool. I did pull one of those. So this is one of the different covers. This is a
Okay.
guy, it's a very popular artist now. His name's Scotty Young, and he does very animated, obviously art, just very different. But I mean, it's cute. I mean, I like it. It's one of those. I don't collect a lot of his, but I mean, that one is like, yeah, I like that. So, um,
And so just based on what we've talked about though, since it is a new release, it probably makes sense to start grabbing that series
yes, and
and
it
get
because
as
it
many of
probably at
those
most,
variations as
right, at
possible.
most it's going to be a if it's a 6 issue series, I'd be surprised. Generally, miniseries like that go 3 or 4 issues, and that's really about it. Because neither company, I mean, it's a money grab, but neither company is going to invest a lot of time in something that's not everlasting.
Let's say it is very limited. It's 5, 6 issues, 12 issues max. Is that something that then becomes collectible if they kill it, or is that an indication that it's not collectible if
No,
they
no,
don't kill
they've
right?
already got a plan on how many issues they're going to run. So whether, I mean, the popularity of it as far as how many issues they sell is going to be of each issue, I should say, how many total, what volume they sell will determine if they do it again. They
Mhm.
literally, I mean, they're doing those crossovers all the time. I think they're already planning another one. But I mean, the covers, some of the covers that they had, the one I picked up this weekend for the Batman and Deadpool was Captain America and Wonder Woman on the cover. I mean, yeah, right. There you go. So, I mean, they're two ideal characters. It was a really cool. Where did I put that? I think I put it upstairs in my Wonder Woman box. But yeah, I mean, um, so I mean, they did a lot of different ones. They did that one. They did one with Magic and Psylocke. No, Magic and Catwoman. Maybe I don't even remember. But I mean, they did a bunch of these covers, and I mean, like I said, I mean, some of them were cutesy, some of them were more pinup. I mean, then you have the classic Terry Dodson art, which is that Captain America and Wonder Woman, which was just very cool art. Um, So like, I don't know how well you'll see that. So like that's the A cover. That's the original cover for the for the book. So this was the B. So it's got the Joker. So that's 2 covers. There's 3, and it's a wraparound. So on the backside, you can't see it in that picture, is Deadpool. So I mean, you got Batman on one side. I mean, this is Crypto and Jeff the Shark. I mean, there's has
Got
nothing to
nothing to
do with the
do with the
story.
series.
Nope. This is an homage cover. So it's an homage cover to a Wolverine Incredible Hulk Wolverine book, but I mean, I like those homage type covers. I buy covers of albums of that homage albums that do movies, things like that, famous art. I mean, I've got a couple that are the Prince Purple Rain. There's a bunch of the when he's sitting on the motorcycle outside the bar.
Mhm.
There's several homages to that. I own several of those just because they're cool. I just like them. So I mean, but that cover had went out to AA, my word, all the way to AP. So there's 42 different variants for that book. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and there's no need to have all those. I mean, that's, I mean, it's like I said, it's a money grab at some point, but I always tell people, collect what you like, buy it. If you like it, buy it. If you don't like it after you've read it or you don't like looking at it, sell it, move on, get rid. I mean, there's no harm in it. So
I really enjoyed the conversation, learned a lot.
sure,
I mean, an
great.
extreme lot about comics and art and what not just what drives value, but what keeps the reader engaged or the fan, the
Oh yeah.
collector engaged. Um,
Yeah, it's
I'd love to
interesting
talk.
because yeah, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, 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 you. It's interesting. Go ahead.
They'll instead of you go to a store and you just buy a book, a Catwoman, they're going to go and you buy what they call blind bags. So what it is there's a comic book in there, but you don't know what it is. You don't know what cover you're getting. You don't know, what it might be. You have a chance that these 1 in 1,000 ratios. I mean, 1 in 500 sketch covers. I mean, all these fancy things, and it's the same way. It's a chase. I mean, the chase is
So I didn't
It's a
realize
big
that.
thing. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
explain a little bit about this
yeah,
bag,
yeah.
this blind
You
bag.
use whatever you can. The blind bag is so they will so there's a set coming out. I'll have some for my show on Thursday night. They actually it's a Mark Spears cover, so it's called Monster and the Wolf. So it's a Halloween book. It's special release. There are almost 40 covers just for that one book, kind of same as that same thing, and like almost all of them are regular covers. So there's like 80. There's like eight special covers that are going to be either a foil, could be signed, could be like they'll make it a gold foil. They'll just make it completely gold. I mean, you see the outline of everything. There's going to be, there'll be a one in whatever, just high ratio numbers. And those are the chase. That's what everybody's looking for. I mean, it's the same way like I was talking about with the baseball cards. They just did it with DC, just did it for a book, like AO event. I actually didn't even get any, but they actually were announced after they started selling these blind bags that that's how they're going to do all their major releases. So not just weekly books, but if they have a major release, it's $10 a bag and you get one book and you don't know what you're getting, but it's supposed to be, if they, I don't know if they're guaranteeing it's a special cover or just any cover, but the way the industry's going, it looks like.
Wow, that's really interesting. I'm gonna have to
Mhm.
go by. There's a comic book store close to where I work in the
Yeah,
little shopping center over. I'm gonna have to become a regular over there, and I'm gonna ask about those blind bags because I want to be able to talk about it. I want to be able to feel the
sure.
chase, and I'm assuming it's got to be just like ripping a pack of cards.
Oh,
You
it
don't
is.
know what you're about to get, so all you
No,
know
no.
is you're getting one of those books.
Well, and I mean, so
Yeah,
to support my habit of buying
that's it.
comics, I actually sell comics on Whatnot, and Whatnot provides its own blind bags every now and again. So they do three books in a bag, and usually one of them. So the way they do it is usually one of them's a just a trade dress. So it means it might have just the name of the book, whatever it is, Hulk. Then the second one's usually going to be a virgin cover. That means there's nothing on it, just the picture. And then the last one's usually one of the specials, and that's the one you're trying to get. You're trying to get one of those last ones to make sure that's the one that's going to be, the real good ones. Whether it's going to be a foil, and it's going to be a prism cover, anything like that. I mean, yeah, they're all doing it. Marvel, DC, the monster bags I'm getting are from a company called Keen Spot, so that's actually a smaller brand. But I mean,
I really appreciate you sharing all of this insight. Do me a favor and let everyone know how they can reach you on whatnot, and any other platforms that you might sell or where you might want to be reached.
sure, no. So is RJS Comics on Whatnot, and it's also the same on Instagram. And I do sell some on eBay, but and it's the same. If you can find it, it's RGS Comics. Pretty straightforward. I sell just whatever I find. I mean, I like different things. So once I get tired of it, I'll wean out stuff. But feel free to hook me up.
Okay. Well, look, Ron, I appreciate your time. Yeah, I think it was a great interview, and I really appreciate you taking the time to hang with us.
Yeah, no problem, man. Just let me know if you have any questions. Maybe I can help you with as far as the books you bought. Reach out.